I was out to dinner the other night and I sat next to this lovely girl. We were talking about what we did and I said to her that I'm a maths professional. I studied maths and I work as an analyst. And she said, "Oh, you don't look like a mathematician." And she meant it in a really lovely way, but at the same time, it's really indicative of the way that society views it. You know, mathematicians are a certain picture in society's mind, and maybe I don't fit into that mold. Hi, I'm Serna. I'm a mathematician and the co-host of the show Letters and Numbers. So I was born in Jerusalem and I spent the first 8 years of my life there, and then my family came out to Australia. As a kid, you always feel like you want to fit in, and so when I was younger, I kind of made a decision not to speak Arabic, for example, because I thought myself Australian and I thought that Australians only speak English, and so although my parents would still speak Arabic to me, I would only speak English to them to try to fit in. So in that sense, I did feel maybe a little bit different, but I think for the most part, it's so great being in a multicultural society because, everyone's different, but that's awesome. Education for me has never been like, sit down and read a textbook and all of that. It's always been really fun and in narrative form, it was always like storytelling, and often when I was growing up, my dad and I would just simply sit down and talk about different topics, whether it's like physics, how rockets fly, or even kind of quite theoretical maths, but he'd get me to think about how do you calculate the area of an irregular shape, so like a shape with one side wiggly, and we'd simply talk about it without actually, reading and rote learning, that kind of thing. Letters and Numbers flipped my life upside down. I never intended on going into television or anything like that. I'd never done any drama. I'd never been in front of like a camera, really. And I actually almost nearly turned down the role because the thought of putting myself out there and being potentially judged by thousands of people is really quite uncomfortable and scary, very scary. But it was actually my mum who kind of encouraged me to go for it, and I'm so glad that I did because it's been just such a wonderful opportunity and a whirlwind, a roller coaster of an experience. Maths and science really help in explaining and understanding the world. And one of the reasons why actually they came into play in the first place, particularly mathematics, is to try to make sense of the natural world. I love surfing because it's really challenging at times, but also really relaxing. And it's always different, the conditions, the wind and the swell and the weather and the water temperature and everything is always really different. You're out there and you're sitting like in a really natural environment, and it's kind of quite humbling as well because you're at the complete mercy of the ocean. I think as an adult it's really important to remain or recultivate that curiosity about the world, and maths is about training the mind to think in a systematic and logical way. So it's not necessarily that you have to go back to your textbooks and learn long division or whatever it is, but it's about breaking problems down and being curious about the things around you. We obviously have a problem of imbalance between males and females. Throughout history, women were actively discouraged from going into maths and sciences for all sorts of ridiculous reasons. And even though now society is so much more welcoming and so much more progressive, there's still that unconscious bias. I think it's really important for women to pursue maths and science for a number of reasons. From a very high level, if you want to talk about the economy and things like that, you have effectively half of your population with a lot of potential that you're not using. So from that perspective, you're missing out on a lot of potential. Some people say that men are just naturally better or naturally gravitate towards science, so let them do that and let women do whatever they want. The problem with that argument is that it neglects the hundreds of years where women were actively discouraged from going into this discipline. And so if people say, oh, women just naturally don't like science or mathematics, I think that it's a lot more complicated than that, and that there is still this undertow of discrimination against women that we really need to address to have a fully equalitarian society.